What do you think about entering into deficit in a situation like this?
Well, it depends on which country, once again. Some countries have enough fiscal capacity to do so easily. Some have fiscal capacity enough to do some things, and some don't have any fiscal capacity at all.
U.S. has a fiscal capacity to keep...
So far, yes.
And what about Latin American countries?
Depends on the country. It's not the same everywhere. And I haven't looked at everyone's fiscal position well enough to tell you.
What do you think about the IMF fighting this global recession? Does it have a role?
Fighting which?
This global recession that we are heading to.
Well, we're in a recession.
Yes. Well, the IMF should fight it.
Yeah. Well, they're doing what they can. They can't do everything because the virus is there, and that's a problem they can't solve. That has to be solved by the public health authorities in the countries.
I mean, you imagine a more active role from the IMF?
I think the IMF is already taking a more active role.
It's clear that the U.S. economy will suffer more from the COVID-19 than China, for example, or Asian economies. Right. How do you think it will impact Latin America specifically?
Well, Latin America has always done better when Europe and the United States are doing better. And the United States right now, as you said, is having a very bad pandemic. And that it looks as if it's going to stay on for some while because its number of cases is still rising. So as long as that happens, the economic situation for the U.S. isn't going to get better. And that will, of course, spill over and be a negative for Latin America.
What I'm worried is that we end now having another program for the debt that we inherited from the last government. And now we have to cut again during a health crisis. Don't you think it's dangerous?
Well, of course it's dangerous. It's always dangerous, first off, to get yourself in a fiscal situation like Argentina got itself into. It's always wise to be ready for the next thing that happens. But that much said, I don't know enough about the current program, but I do worry that Argentina, and I'm sure this in 2001 and 2002, was not... The authorities were not willing and not interested in doing enough to change the structure of the economy in a way that would make it growth more rapid and it would be more sustainable over the longer term. That I'm sure of. Now, what's happening now, I don't know. If what you're saying is they're doing the same thing all over again, i.e. cutting in the wrong places, then of course that would be a problem because that means that we'll have some of the same distortions in the system, and that means that growth won't be very rapid, and that means that the same problems will arise again.
But when a country tries to catch up in fiscal terms, raising the taxes, raising the well, not the expenditures, but the revenues, the IMF don't like that. The IMF usually tells countries not to raise taxes because it will affect competitivity. How do you evaluate?
Well, I don't know what we're talking about enough to make any comment at all, and certainly not a comment on the Argentine program. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anne.
You're very welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Nunca la responsabilidad es de ellos. Ordenan el ajuste, niegan el apoyo cuando los países sí optan por subir sus ingresos en vez de por ajustar sus gastos, terminan imponiendo las políticas que nos llevan a la crisis, pero después encima la culpa es nuestra. Un diálogo con Anne Krueger 20 años después para cerrar este Brotes Verdes. Los espero el martes que viene a las 10, como cada martes aquí en la pantalla del C5N.